Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Go ahead and you have it on your face. It's on her shirt.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Oh my God.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Kelly, kick it up. What do you mean kick it up? No, get down.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Play. Design quarterback run. Oh, it's kind of. Oh, yeah.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Oh my gosh, look at your car. Look. Oh my god, get you on that.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Go on, D1, baby.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Oh my god, baby, are you okay? Yeah. Baby. Baby.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
You okay?
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Oh my god.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
That's cute.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
He fucking following us!
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
So I was just walking back to my house from Liam's house with Caitlin and Tristan, and this guy comes out of his house and he starts chirping them, and then they're giving him lip, and he walks away, right? And then he comes back and he's like, "Did you call me a bitch?" And they didn't say that.
Tristan yelled, yeah, no, I never said anything like that to him. I didn't cuss at him or call him anything. I'm like, because you know how I didn't hit the sign and he was acting like I did it? I'm like, I was telling him I didn't.
He didn't hit the
and
sign.
didn't even do anything. And then
No, it's just I don't know. I can't see anything. Anyways, so he starts chirping at the boys, and I get out of the way because he's running, and he takes out his fucking pit bull terrier, and then he pushes me into the fucking cement like I didn't do anything, and he just pushes me like I don't even know this guy, and he's like big and he's buff, you know, and I'm like fucking I'm 5'1", like what?
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
You gonna mash up my shirt just so?
Man, I want that short. Man.
This is 2002. It's from 2002.
But I might not buy no.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Tamam şimdi ben çık yukarıya.
I'm good. Why you guys?
Tamam iyi misin?
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Bro, what the fuck? My door is actually fucking shut. I'm never opening my mouth ever again. Oh my gosh, that was so scary.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
What?
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
There she goes.
Ryan's coming to save you!
He's coming. No, hustle.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Look out! Look out! No way!
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
We're surprising my brother for his birthday and we're gonna see his reaction. Okay, bring him down. Mike, be careful. Oh my god, Michael! Michael! Oh my god, Michael! Okay, call 911! Oh my god, Michael!
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
God damn, bro! Oh, shit!
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Please, please, please. Can you not put him in the back, man, please? We're not. Mamá, no está pasando nada. No está pasando nada, ma. No pasa, me está confundiendo.
Ya. Todo va a estar bien, venga, se venga.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
I'm having a stroke. I got that red. I can't breathe. I don't want you to. I don't want you. I think I have Tourette's.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Буся. 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 Буся.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Y'all, I think my child's broken because she's not crying and she's actually happy and she's not wanting to be picked up. And I I think the batteries have malfunctioned.
Hey, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
He's gonna fucking stomp on it.
Oh no! Oh my god! He's not coming to a stop. He's coming reverse.
Why is he reversing so
Where are we?
Holy shit.
We're either not about to park or he's a shitty driver. Not forward and reversing. What is it? Do you see that?
I think he's doing this on purpose.
It's like moving.
Hey, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
No. No fighting. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it right now. Stop it. Oh my god. No. Oh, help. Help. Stop.
Hey, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Hey, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Oh my god! Where are they? They're right there! They're right there! Get out of here! Oh my god! Oh my god! No! Shut the door! Shut the door! Where? Oh!
I'm actually scared.
Stop!
Get in the bus!
Everyone get in! Oh my god!
These kids are literally like 4 feet fucking tall. Yeah, they're like 4 feet. Get on the bus! Get on the bus! Get on the bus! Get on the bus!
What the heck? I'm so
Stop!
Is that spit?
Oh my god.
Stop. Tell him to break 6.
Stop, Cam!
I'm not even doing anything.
Sit down!
I'm sitting down. Close the shade. Close the shade.
Alright, hey guys, so I finally decided that I'm going to post a story time about my trip to Italy. It's probably not going to fit all in one part, but I will try to get it up as soon as I can. So the video did take place in Italy, for those of you that are asking. This trip was 2 years ago, and it was hosted through the school, so I was with some of my friends as well as some of my teachers. So before this situation even happened, we decided to stop at a beach on our way back to one of our hotels because it was one of our last nights in Italy. So when we actually got to the beach, some of us decided to like go and actually sit on the beach while others went and walked around. So for the people that went and walked around, they ended up walking by a soccer game. So when they walked by, the ball from the soccer game came out. And at first, the boys that were on the trip with me didn't do anything. The boys in the soccer game didn't speak any English. Part 2. Alright, so this is part 2. So the boys in the soccer game were trying to tell them to like go get the ball for them because they were in like a fenced-in area, so it would have been harder for them to come out and then go get it. But the people on my trip like couldn't understand because they were speaking 2 different languages. So then the boys in the soccer game started to say "stupid Americans," which is what started this all. So then Cam ended up punting the ball across the street. So that obviously made the boys in the soccer game get mad, and they started like spitting on them and like yelling at them. So Cam ended up running and went and got the ball for them and threw it back in for them. So the boys from my school just ended up walking away, whatever, like just trying to forget everything that just happened. So they come back and tell us, like the people that were sitting on the beach, and we were like, oh my god, like what the heck? So whatever, we kind of just like forget about it. But alright, part 3. Part 3. So when it was time for us to get back on the bus, there was like 2 different ways we could have went to get to it. So one of the ways you had to walk by the soccer game where everything just happened. So we like told our teachers, we'd be like, oh, we shouldn't go that way, and then told them what happened. But like, obviously that sounds crazy, so they probably thought we were exaggerating. So they were like, no, it's fine, like, we'll just walk by, like, just don't look at them or whatever. So we start to walk by, and the boys notice. And they start pointing at us and like screaming and swearing like so loud. Some of them even start climbing over the fence when we're just walking by. So they didn't see Cam at first, they just saw like all of us and knew that we were like associated with him, but they didn't see him because he was in the back. So like we're almost at the bus and then they see Cam. And now we're almost at the bus and they start climbing the fence to come get us. At first it was just younger kids. All right, part 4, sorry. Part 4. So like we're running to the bus now and like they start climbing the fence and everything, and at first it's just little kids and then teenagers start climbing over the fence, and then even adults started running like over the fence to come get us. So when they finally catch up to us, like half of the people on my trip were on the bus and half of us weren't. Which is why in the video we're like, get on the bus, because obviously we're not gonna leave half the people on our trip. And that's when they're like telling us that they're gonna like hurt us, and they're like pointing to us on the bus, and they even were trying to like get on the bus, which you probably can see in the video. They were pushing past us to get on the bus, like the people waiting in line. You can even hear someone yell like, don't touch me, because it was getting so bad. And like no one was doing anything. There was even like a cop and he wasn't even doing anything, or even anyone walking on the side of the street. Everyone was just watching. So one of my teachers like kind of like settles it down. All right, part 5. Part 5. So then the kids started telling the teacher that was trying to like negotiate with them to stop, was like, oh, like they were pointing to the kid like, take him off. But like again, we weren't speaking the same language, so it was really hard to like get them to stop. So then at this point we all just get on the bus, and that's when they start like spitting and throwing rocks on the window. So we close the doors and everything, and like they just keep throwing things at the rocks just to like get him. And some of you are like, oh, why didn't you just get off the bus? Because like we're not from here, we can't just get off the bus and fight them. And like even after like the video stopped recording, it just kept getting worse and worse, like with the rocks and them screaming and running around the bus. They even chased us, like tried to chase the bus. So that's that crazy story time. I'm sorry it took so long, but I hope you guys enjoy.
Okay, so I woke up this morning and my TikTok had gone pretty viral, and sorry about that, but I'm just here to explain some things because y'all clearly do not understand like what was really going on. You guys are kind of being a little mean like about what happened and trying to make us feel stupid for what happened and stuff like that, but I think the important thing is that we got out and we're safe. But anyway, so I'm gonna explain a little bit. Y'all kept saying, why didn't y'all just use GPS? Alright, well this is what it looked like. So it literally just looks like a big circle, and when I press like the walk thing, it leads me around the entire area. Keep in mind, we're like in here somewhere. Also, we had very limited service, so the blue dot that like shows you where you're at was literally just going everywhere, and it was really not working. A lot of y'all are saying coyotes aren't dangerous, but coyotes are actually pretty dangerous. They can really injure you, and hearing them in the woods alone at night in the dark, that's pretty scary. Like for a part 2. This is part 2 of me explaining what happened and like why we couldn't like follow all your guys' helpful tips and just get out of the woods. We literally never went off the path so much that we had to actually cross through water. I don't know if you guys saw that in the beginning, but we literally like went barefoot through water to cross the creek because we really didn't want to get off the path. We literally never steered clear of the path. I don't know if that makes us look even more dumb for getting lost, but I just don't know how to explain it to you unless you've been in the situation. Once it started getting dark, we stayed on the path the entire time, but when it was pitch black, there was also like forks, and we tried to figure that out as much as we can. We hit dead ends twice. Like we just have no idea how we actually got turned around like that. Y'all were saying, like, since we saw the parking lot sign, we should just turn around and try to walk to the parking lot. Don't you think we would have tried that? If we were literally already walking that way, we would have saw the parking lot. Also, we decided that that was our breaking point, and we called the cops, and the cops were like, good job, you stayed there, you didn't move. Good job for you. So we did the right thing by staying there and not moving. This is part 2. Part 3 of clearing things up. So a lot of you guys are saying that we didn't take it seriously, like, why aren't you freaking out, blah, blah, blah. Well, basically, like, we couldn't just sit there and, like, hug each other and cry. Like, I just kept thinking, like, oh, keep walking, keep walking, keep walking, like, you can do it. Like, obviously, I was scared. I kept thinking, like, oh, 2 girls alone in the woods, how does this movie end? Like, I was freaking out, but, like, what was I supposed to do? I, like, honestly was in fight or flight and was, like, unaware of a lot of stuff going around me anyways. Plus, I have severe anxiety and severe asthma, and Hannah knew that if she was gonna freak out, then I would freak out. I would have a panic attack and an asthma attack, and then we'd have 2 bigger problems on our hand while we're trying to get out of the woods. So, like, we kind of just had to stay calm from each other. There wasn't, like, an option to, like, not freak out. I keep getting this question, but no, we did not have to pay for 911 services. I don't know what countries you have to do that, but no, we didn't have to pay. Also, a lot of people keep asking how long it took the firefighters to find us. Not very long. It took them about 20 minutes, so that was pretty fast for them. So let me know if you guys have any more questions. I can't believe I'm making a 4th video, but I'm still getting a lot of ignorant comments and some questions, so I'm going to answer those. Once again, no, you do not have to pay for 911 services in America. You do have to pay for an ambulance, but, like, calling the cops or, like, the firefighters, like, no, you don't have to pay for that. We were not far from our car, so, like, we were on a trail, and our car was parked right outside the trail. It was just, like, finding our way back. So once the firefighters got there, it, like, took us 20 minutes to probably walk back. So, like, we were only probably 15 to 20 minutes away from our car, which is kind of embarrassing, but whatever. You guys were freaking out, but you were calm enough to record videos. First of all, I was recording pretty much what was happening so that I could post on Snapchat so my friends knew where I was, because I was scared. Second of all, I was recording because I was like, holy shit, is this happening? Like, I was like, when we make it out and we're gonna be okay, then I'm gonna post this. This is hilarious. But at the time, obviously the situation was scary. I don't understand why you wouldn't get that.
Hey, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Right, oh wait, he's getting closer. Go get up past that car. Oh shit, it's red light. Back. Don't fucking do it. Oh fuck, here he comes. I'm just gonna call the fucking cops on him. He's leaving all the shit.
So I definitely wasn't expecting that video to blow up as much as it did, but here is story time for y'all. Sunday I had broken up with Austin. I kicked him out of my apartment, told him we were done. He was cheating on me and I wasn't gonna get used anymore. This was our messages. He did not respond to Monday's messages at all. So on Tuesday I had sent him this. Tuesday, he called me and was telling me that I fucked him over, I ruined his life, I caused him to lose his job, his daughter, all sorts of other things, just telling me how horrible of a person I am, which I literally did everything I could for that man. I took care of his daughter. I let him use my truck to get to and from work, not knowing he didn't have a license.
After that phone call, I didn't hear anything else from him. I decided to load up his stuff in my truck myself, and I asked Caitlin to go with me because I was kind of worried he might be there. He wasn't supposed to be because the shop was closed, so I was just going to set the stuff in the back of his truck that is sitting there because it doesn't run. We pulled up, and the shop door was open, so I kept going. I sat around the corner and called and asked for a civil standby from the cops, and they told me that they could not do that. I didn't want to drive all the way home with his stuff again. I was already in the area, so I drove around the corner and I dropped it off at a different closed business on the sidewalk. In the matter of me unloading the truck, he called my phone 15 times because I believe he saw me pulling out of where we were at. And we'll have to go for part 3. Rolling into part 3, I called him once all of his stuff was unloaded, and I told him, hey, it's right around the corner. He told me I was a trashy person for doing that, and I was only doing that for mine and my children's safety, along with Caitlin's, because he had made multiple threats So whenever he was pulling out of the diesel shop, I pulled out of where we were parked at, and instead of pulling into where we were parked at, he continued to follow me. I went 4 lanes to the left, trying to get away from him. I was just going to turn around and go back the way I came because I'm 2 hours away from home. I don't know where I'm at. So he followed me there, so I go all the way to the right lane and take the yield lane because at this point I'm terrified. I don't know what he's going to do. My kids are in the truck and he's obviously not in the right headspace at this point. So let's go for part 4.
Part 4. So towards the end of the video, you can see him backing off and driving normal. That is because there is an officer sitting on the shoulder on oncoming traffic side, and I start blaring my horn and flashing my lights, trying to get this cop's attention so he leaves me alone. He continued to drive forward. I parked on the shoulder directly across from where the officer was at. He never came to talk to us. I was on the phone with 911, and I cut that part of the video out because my kid's face was shown, and I'm just doing my best to protect them. That is all I was doing. That was my intention, was to keep them away from him. If I would have been in the truck by myself, by all means, come and hit my truck. Like, I'm worried about my children's safety. A truck is replaceable. My kids are not. And if he's going to do something, he's going to do something.
Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god, she's gotten out of her car. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. What the fuck do I do? Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. She's literally following us again. Behind us again. Hi!
Anyone else uploading?
Hi guys, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been showing concerns in the comments of my last video. My sister and I are okay, and we appreciate your concerns. So for all of you who are asking, I wanted to do a little story time / update on the situation. To begin, things with my mother are quite complicated and hard to explain, so I'm not going to be doing that here. But I will say that I lived with my abusive mother until I was about 16, when my father was able to move me and my family out away from her. She was verbally abusive and has some serious mental issues. She knows where we live and comes around our house a lot, knocking on our windows and our doors, trying to get us to talk to her. She's also driven by me on numerous occasions while I'm on my runs outside. What happened yesterday has never happened before. She's never followed me in her car for so long, and that is why I decided to record it. I've had a lot of experience with her and the police before, so I knew what to do in this situation. Seeing her and being in that situation was quite traumatic for me, and I had no idea this TikTok would get so much exposure. So thanks again, me and my sister are okay. I appreciate you all. Hi guys, I just wanted to take this opportunity to send out a message to anyone who sees this video. Obviously, I had a pretty hard childhood, and I went through a lot of emotional distress when I was growing up. Not many people knew, or even to this day still know, about the situation I was in. Now it's 5 years later, and I still have nightmares and emotional damage that I don't think will ever be cured. So my message to everyone is to just be kind to everyone, because you really never know what they're going through or what they have been through in their lifetime.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
There's this dog. Oh, actually, okay. To start off, I'm on a bike ride right now, and I passed this farm on the way down, and there's this like super dirty beagle that started chasing me on the way when I was going this way, and I'm really scared it's gonna come back out again. Okay, I should probably catch speed just in case it does. Oh shit, I can already see it. I can already see it. Oh my god. Okay. Oh god, there's two of them. No, 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 no. Okay. No. No, 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 no. Oh my god. Leave me alone. Please don't bite me. God, it's so fast. Jesus. Oh my god, did you see?
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
It's okay. No. Mom, get Toby. Toby, come here. No, no, no!
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
I am. Why are you trying? I'm not. What are you doing? I'm making it so she's like getting out of her freaking way. Just let me film her so that way when they call the cops. Crazy bitch.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Ready?
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
You're the cutest thing. Wait, I'm gonna cry. I don't really know.
If I touch him, do I have to pay $200?
Can you take it?
Are you crying?
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
I'm gonna shoot the gun. Should I say, can we go? Can we go? Okay, go, go, go. Go, we gotta just go that way, Atlanta. Yeah, I will. Fuck, fuck. Oh my god, Atlanta, this is not happening. Oh my god.
Keep your hands on the roof.
Oh my god, go Atlanta, go, go, go. Oh my god. Oh my. Dude.
What is
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Go! Yes! Get him, get him, get him, get him. Get him, get him.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Oh shit, I did it.
Was that 2 or 3?
My hand's gonna slip. Oh!
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
My dog just fucking dead. Muñeca! Oh.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Shut up, Charlie.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
Dude, like...
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
He's going. Oh my god.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
I'm good.
What? Megan, look. Megan.
Ow! God damn, that hurt.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.
I have a big forehead. The fuck is wrong with you?
Ayo,
Putting
something
lotion
traumatic
on my
happened that
hand
changed my life.
100
Check.
times. This is 1. This is 10. 12, 13, 14, 15. This is 20. 21, 22, 20. I'm so screwed after this. 24, 30. This is 30. This is just a comparison. Okay. 50. Why am I doing this? So this is 60. This is 70. Jesus Christ. Why? 91, 92, 93, 90. This is 100. Thank you for watching.
Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check. Ayo, something traumatic happened that changed my life. Check.